On September 12, 1952, the small town of Flatwoods, West Virginia, was settling into a quiet evening. Families gathered on porches, the last rays of sunlight fading over the rooftops, and the gentle hum of crickets filled the air. The Appalachian sky deepened to a rich indigo, casting long shadows over the rolling hills and thick forests that surrounded the town. Suddenly, a fiery, reddish-orange object tore across the heavens, trailing sparks and fire. It slowed, almost as if searching for a place to land, its path impossible to ignore. The object descended in eerie silence, coming to rest on a nearby hillside. Its otherworldly glow flickered and then vanished behind the dense trees, leaving the landscape momentarily illuminated. This was no ordinary meteor. Witnesses from Flatwoods and across several neighboring states reported seeing similar strange lights that night, each account adding to the growing sense of mystery. In Flatwoods, the object was no longer a distant anomaly. It had landed just beyond the edge of town, igniting a wave of curiosity, fear, and speculation among the residents. Phone calls and excited chatter rippled through the community. Neighbors gathered, in small groups, sharing what they'd seen, and a handful of locals felt compelled to approach the mysterious sight. The anxieties of the Cold War era only heightened the sense of urgency and dread. Rumors of secret weapons and foreign threats were never far from anyone's mind. Was it a crashed plane, a secret military craft, or something unimaginable, something not of this earth? Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, a few brave souls decided to investigate, setting the stage for one of the strangest and most enduring encounters in UFO history. The object on the hill was a silent invitation, a puzzle waiting to be solved, its presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. What they would find in the darkness would become legend, the Flatwoods Monster, a figure that would haunt the town's memory for generations. For those who dared to investigate that night, their lives and the story of Flatwoods would never be the same again. Brothers Edward and Fred May, playing football at dusk on a cool September evening, were among the first to spot the fiery object as it streaked across the sky and landed on a local farm. The boys, still catching their breath from the game, stood frozen in awe and confusion, watching the strange light flicker in the distance. Bursting with excitement, fear, and a sense of urgency, they sprinted home as fast as their legs could carry them, eager to tell their mother, Kathleen May, about the bizarre sight they had just witnessed. At first, Kathleen was skeptical, thinking perhaps the boys' imaginations had gotten the better of them, but their wide eyes and trembling voices convinced her that something truly unusual had happened. She decided she couldn't ignore their pleas, and agreed to investigate. Word of the strange event spread quickly through the small community. Soon, a small group gathered at the May home. Edward and Fred, their mother Kathleen, 3 local boys who had also seen the light, and Eugene Lemon, a young National Guardsman known for his bravery. Lemon's loyal dog joined the group, barking anxiously and sniffing the air as if sensing something out of the ordinary. Armed with only a single flashlight, the group prepared to set out into the night. Led by Kathleen, the party made their way toward the Fisher farm, their hearts pounding with anticipation and unease, growing with every step into the darkness. The familiar landscape of fields and trees was transformed by the deep shadows and the sense of the unknown lurking just beyond the beam of their flashlight. They passed through a creaky old gate and up a rough, uneven track, the night swallowing their nervous chatter and amplifying every sound around them. Despite their fear, the group pressed on, united by curiosity, a sense of adventure, and the hope of uncovering the truth behind the mysterious light. Each step took them further from the safety and comfort of home, drawing them deeper into the heart of a mystery that would soon change their lives forever. In that moment, they were no longer just ordinary townsfolk. They were about to become witnesses to something unimaginable, something that would echo through the years. The legend of the Flatwoods Monster was about to begin, and the events of that night would become a story told and retold for generations. What they would encounter in the darkness would haunt them for years, leaving a mark on the town and its people. And it all started with a simple game interrupted by mysterious light in the sky, forever changing the lives of those who dared to follow it. The climb was steep and shrouded in darkness, their lone flashlight barely piercing the thickening fog. The air was heavy with a strange, metallic odor that stung their throats and eyes. The dog, once eager, now cowered in fear, refusing to go further. The group pressed on, driven by a mix of dread and determination. As they neared the summit, the fog grew denser, the smell almost overpowering. Some began to feel nauseous, but curiosity kept them moving. At the top, they saw a soft, pulsating red light, nothing like the fiery crash they'd expected. A large, dark, spherical object rested on the ground, throbbing gently like a sleeping heart. The sight confirmed something had landed, but as Eugene Lemon swept his flashlight toward a nearby tree, the true horror of the night revealed itself. The orb was only the beginning. What they saw next would become the stuff of nightmares. The flashlight's beam caught two glowing orange-green eyes staring from a tree, piercing through the dense darkness of the forest. These were not animal eyes. They glowed with an unnatural, self-illuminated light, casting an eerie glow that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The group froze, paralyzed by fear as the eyes watched them with chilling intelligence, as if assessing their every move. Kathleen May screamed, breaking the silence and shattering the group's fragile composure. The creature responded with a piercing hiss and began to move, not walking, but gliding smoothly toward them, its motion almost otherworldly. It was immense, at least 10 feet tall, with a dark, shadowy body and a pleated metallic skirt that shimmered in the dim light. Its head was shaped like an ace of spades, framed in blood red, with those hypnotic eyes blazing from within, burning into their minds. No arms or legs were visible. It floated above the ground, advancing with terrifying speed, defying the laws of nature. Panic erupted. The group fled, stumbling down the hill in blind terror, their hearts pounding in their chests. The hissing in those eyes haunted them all the way home, a constant reminder of the horror they had just witnessed. They burst into the May house, gasping and shaken, forever changed by the encounter. The image of the spade-headed giant was seared into their memories, an indelible mark of terror. The Flatwoods Monster had made its mark, leaving an unforgettable impression on all who encountered it. The witnesses' descriptions painted a creature unlike any other in UFO lore. Towering 10 to 12 feet tall, it seemed part machine, part living nightmare. Its body was dark and shapeless, possibly clad in a pleated metallic garment. Some saw small, claw-like hands. Others saw none, panic blurring the details. The head, framed by a blood-red, spade-shaped cowl, housed two glowing eyes that seemed to burn with their own light. The face itself was indistinct, adding to its inhuman menace. It glided above the ground, emitting a sharp, mechanical hiss. The air was thick with a foul, metallic mist, assaulting every sense. The encounter was a sensory onslaught, sight, sound, and smell all screaming alien. The Flatwoods Monster was a being straight out of a science fiction nightmare. The terror didn't end on the hill. Soon, the witnesses fell ill. Kathleen May and others suffered nausea, vomiting, and throat irritation, symptoms resembling chemical exposure. Their distress was obvious to local authorities and journalists. This was no hoax. Investigators found the site, reeking of the same metallic odor, with flattened grass, parallel tracks, and a strange, oily residue. The substance was collected but mysteriously lost, its nature never determined. The combination of physical symptoms and tangible evidence made the case hard to dismiss. The sickness was a painful reminder of the encounter, validating their fear. The monster had left more than just psychological scars. The town was left reeling with questions that science couldn't easily answer. The Flatwoods Monster had left its mark on bodies, minds, and the land itself. As the story spread, skeptics sought rational explanations. Many pointed to a meteor seen that night, and suggested the red light was a beacon from a nearby tower. The creature, they argued, was a startled barn owl, its eyes reflecting light, its hiss and flight misinterpreted in the fog. The skirt could have been tree foliage, the panic a product of fear and suggestion. This theory explained some details, but not the creature's immense size, the chemical odor, or the witness's sickness. The tracks and oily residue also defied easy explanation. Skeptics leaned on misidentification and mass hysteria, but the evidence left gaps. The Flatwoods case resisted tidy answers. For every rational theory, new questions emerged. The mystery only deepened. The Flatwoods Monster story quickly became national and international news. Its blend of Cold War anxiety and monster horror made it an instant icon of 1950s UFO folklore. The creature's bizarre appearance set it apart, fueling books, documentaries, and endless debate. Flatwoods embraced its legend, drawing tourists and celebrating its green monster. Surprisingly, the monster became a sensation in Japan, inspiring manga, anime, and video games. Its spade-shaped head and gliding movement fit perfectly into Japanese monster fiction. The story's global reach speaks to its power as a modern myth. The image of the hissing, gliding giant endures, reimagined by artists and storytellers worldwide. From a West Virginia hilltop, the legend soared into pop culture. The Flatwoods Monster remains a beloved icon of the unknown. 70 years later, the Flatwoods Monster remains an unsolved mystery. The witnesses never wavered in their accounts, their trauma genuine and lasting. Skeptics point to meteors, owls, and hysteria. Believers see evidence of something truly extraordinary. The loss of key evidence like the oily residue keeps the debate alive. The case challenges our understanding of perception and the unknown. It stands as a classic high strangeness event where every explanation seems unbelievable. The legend endures, inviting each generation to decide for themselves. Was it a trick of the night, or a visitor from beyond? The truth remains hidden in the mists of Flatwoods. What do you believe was watching from the trees that night? If you're passionate about mysteries, true crime, unexplained phenomena, historical enigmas, conspiracies, or just love a suspenseful story, this is the place for you. Like this video if you enjoyed the journey, share your thoughts or theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories and investigations. The next enigma awaits.